Hi guys, welcome to the GB Pageantry HQ podcast. This is season 1, episode 5, and we have a wicked guest for you. I'm so looking forward to speaking to Andrea Day from Cancer Research. Obviously, you guys will probably know if you follow GB that Cancer Research is one of our biggest supporters, and we are of them as well. So massive welcome to the GB Pageantry podcast HQ. Andrea Day, how are you?
I'm really good, Matt. I'm a little bit nervous.
You'll be absolutely wicked. I know we were having a chat before we actually came live and started recording. And you know, I've spoken to you a good number of times actually in person, and you're probably the easiest person to have a conversation with. So I'm pretty sure you'll be absolutely awesome. And I reckon this will probably be the biggest watch or viewed podcast that we do, without a doubt. So
Thank you. Thank you.
yeah, so put your
I'll
nerves.
do my best.
Let's talk about some cool stuff to put you at ease first. So you came from a retail background into working for Action for Children and spent 14 years with those guys doing no doubt some amazing stuff. But I want to really dive in straight away to 2010 when you joined Cancer Research. So talk to me about how all that came about and how you ended up there.
Yeah, so I applied for the job back in, I think it was September time of 2010. And it was work covering my colleague's area, and she does Nottinghamshire. She was going on maternity leave, and yeah, I applied, and it was a 12-month fixed term contract for her maternity leave. And yeah, nearly 14 years later, the rest is history. Here I am.
That's a long pregnancy.
She was going off to have a year off, so I was straight into the charity. And I remember her handing me a mobile phone and a great handover document, because she's a brilliant relationship manager even to this day. And she said, "There you go, Andrea, I'm off to have my baby." And you know, when you think, right, okay, I'm going to cover Nottinghamshire from Lincolnshire, this is going to be fun. But yeah, it was good, and here I am still talking about it today. So it was
Awesome. So
good.
what role did you actually step into? So what's the actual title and what is your title now?
So back in the day, we were called area volunteer managers. Today, we're called relationship managers, because that's basically the job. So the new title really encompasses what we do. We build relationships and we work with supporters. So yes, we've had quite a lot of changes over the years, but fundamentally we do the same job.
Wicked. And is that for you to so if you were to boil down the role and what you're doing within the role, is it generally bringing relationships with people that you've already got as supporters for Cancer Research UK, or is it finding new opportunities, or both?
It's a really good question, because you've absolutely got both of them correct. So yes, we work with supporters that have been with us for sometimes 40, 50, 60 years, but also acquisition is a real key element of our role. So we're looking all the time to build new relationships and build new partnerships, whether that's with individuals or corporate partners, or groups of, fundraising groups of people that have come together. Maybe they've lost someone, or maybe they've gone through a cancer journey and they've come through the other side. So people have lots and lots of different reasons. So yeah, the role is very much, bringing people with us, new volunteers, new supporters, but also nurturing and bringing those people that have been with us through the whole CRUK journey, from whatever age up to possibly even leaving us a legacy in their will. So yeah, it's a big varied role.
That's cool. And what in the time that you've been, because you've been with them 13 years, nearly 14 years, almost as long as you're at Action for Children. So it makes it a massive impact. Nearly 30 years of your life spent donating to charitable endeavors, as it were, or the charitable career, if I can put
Yeah,
it in that box.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely, yeah.
what would you say has been your biggest triumph, I suppose, within that? What did you walk away from? Go, do you know what? That's made a big dent in what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Miss Great Britain partnership, we can talk about that at some point, I'm sure, during the podcast. I think looking back, I remember, cutting a really long story short, 12-year story. I remember going to meet some supporters back in, I think it was around 2011, and there were a group of ladies, and there were the chair of the group. So she'd fundraised for us for like 50 years. and she was in her early 80s, and I was going to meet her and the treasurer at that point, and there were amazing volunteers. And I remember driving to meet them thinking, they're going to say they want to retire. I mean, like I said, the chair was in her early 80s. And I remember thinking, wow, you know, they've raised £350,000. I just knew it was going to be an important one. And I was ready for the, you know, I'm in my 80s. And she absolutely deserved to step down. And so I thought, how can we keep these people with us? They were amazing. They're still an amazing family. They're very well connected. They've got an amazing presence in that town. And I went to meet her, and I remember like listening, 2 ears, 1 mouth, listening to them, listening to what they'd done, listening to what they'd achieved. And I remember saying, I'll tell you something then, why don't we do one last event to celebrate what you've done for Cancer Research UK over the years? And yeah, we ended up, they said, oh, okay, then Andrea, we'll do that. And we did a lunch, and we had a speaker from the local radio. It was an absolute sellout event. And it kind of sowed that seed that they wanted to keep doing something. And then the following year, I remember nominating the chair for what we call in the charities a Flame of Hope Award. And I nominated her, and she became an honorary fellow of Cancer Research UK. And kind of momentum just started picking up again. Her family got involved. The community became more involved. Our volunteering department contacted me and said, would this lady, she would kind of qualify for an MBE. And I remember doing the application, and basically if you do an MBE application, you leave it for 2 years, forget about it. And to cut to a long story short, yes, she got an MBE in 2015 from Prince William, and she's still the chair today, and wow. She's 96 nearly.
I was trying to do the maths in my head, and mental arithmetic is not my strong point, but I was thinking, like, surely this must now be like a legacy almost MBE. I don't even know if they do that, but so she's still alive at 96.
Yeah.
And still, and you know what? That really talks to, I love personal development and just self-development. Some people call it self-help, put it in that box.
Yeah.
That really speaks to the object of having a purpose to fulfill, to having a job, quote unquote, to do, and life span is just so intrinsically linked. So I just wonder how much of what she's doing in terms of being at the forefront of what you've just explained is actually, you know, supplying her life force as well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, she's incredible. And for years, I will say also that they went on and they've now raised 800,000. So wow. I had the retirement discussion with them back in 2011.
When they were in their ripe old 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. And the chair was in her early 80s, and she said, Andrea, I'm ready for a rest. And I remember thinking, no, you're not, because we've got work to do and we've got science to fund. And
you've got at least 20 years left to go before we start talking about it.
Even now I say to her, look, Maureen, we've got work to be done.
Yeah. You can't retire until you've hit the million.
I will say to you though, it's good. There is a lovely message here, because over the years she's been saying to me, we really need to get someone, Andrea, to fill my role, because she was, you know, I'd say you need to delegate more, and so many more people getting involved, and they've done amazing events, and they're just superstars. And it's kind of sometimes like you've got to be patient, because over the years we've been having the conversation. So I've gone along to their events, I've spoke to, you know, people that have been to their events. I've got a really good relationship with the family, and we've just had a lady similar age to me who said to the family, who's a friend of theirs, I'll take the legacy forward and we'll get it to £1 million. So Maureen, bless her, she's stepped back a little bit. We're giving her a bit of time off, and she's just, have we collected that check? Have we done? And I say, it's all in hand, Maureen, don't worry. So she is an MBE, she's 96, and we're going to take that group to £1 million a milestone, which, and we've just heard we've got a full legacy, also a friend of the family's, that he just said to me, I need to have a word with you. I've just left my full estate to Cancer Research UK. I've been so inspired by this family. I've watched what you do over the years and what you've done, and it's really inspired me. So yeah, I think that story's kind of, when you think, at what point will I retire? But then I can't, because I really like it too much. So
That's like a fantastic story, and
yeah, it's
it's,
mind blowing.
and what's really nice is it's not come from, like, say, a huge corporate or something like that. It's been an individual or a family that's
Community, yeah.
made a huge difference, and
Yeah.
to have a figurehead there that's 96, that's still pushing forward and still wanting to be involved. It's kind of like that weird dichotomy, isn't it? It's like you want to step back, but you still want to be you still want to be really involved, at the same time. So
Oh,
that
absolutely.
that's a wicked story. It really
It
is.
is, and yeah, that's what keeps me going every day, I think, basically.
And so let's sort of swing it round to pageantry and what have you, and sort of I guess the theme of the podcast is where did you first come across pageantry?
So I can remember seeing the amazing Dion Robertson on the TV back in the day, a few years ago. And I remember I had a 17, 18, just 18-year-old Rebecca at that point. And I remember saying, wow, Rebecca Dion's amazing. And we were watching her on the TV, like, and I said, why don't you do it? And she always danced. She was a dancer till, till she was nearly 20. And she said, oh, Mum, I couldn't do it. And I said, oh, fair. And when you just think, oh, that was just like an over lunch kitchen conversation.
Yeah.
And then she said to me, a couple of days later, Mum, I've been on the website and I think I'm going to apply for Miss Lincolnshire. And we had a real giggle about it. But she was so young, and yeah, she went to the live heat. I'm trying to think where it was. Melton Mowbray, I think. Yeah, as an 18-year-old, she'd been on a stage as a dancer, but as in pageantry, she was very underconfident. She had a new job with Disney in Paris, so she had a lot going on, but she was still at college, and she won the live heat, and went to Miss Great Britain in the September 2017. She
Wow.
was in awe of a girl called Saffron Hart. I don't know if you know her.
Never heard of her.
No. Well, anyway, Saffron was, in her 20s, confident, beautiful. And yeah, and I think, but Rebecca had the best time. It literally, I think she felt like a superstar. It's just the most, of all the stages she danced on, that was the most iconic. And yeah, she did it. Saffron was the new Miss Great Britain. And from that point, I kind of knew of, obviously, I mean, I was born in 1969, so I'd grown up with my mum and my sister watching Miss Great Britain on the TV and scoring the dresses and how they walked and everything. But yeah, so of course I knew it from growing up, but seeing it firsthand. And then I kind of obviously had Kate and Gemma on Facebook, and I knew what the organisation stood for. And I remember them seeing a post, and they were looking for a new charity, and they'd worked with us once before. And I remember thinking, why did that not continue? What did we do? It wasn't me, it was another relationship manager. And it had been fine. They'd raised an amazing amount of money, but it probably wasn't utilised. And I don't know, I just think it's strong relationships are vital.
It's in the title, isn't it? At the end of the day,
Yeah,
relationship
yeah,
manager.
it is.
If you don't manage the
Yeah,
relationships, then relationships break down, I guess.
precisely. And yeah, that's the format of the start of everything, isn't it? So yeah, I remember putting a pitch together and sending a pack off and speaking to my manager about, Miss Great Britain. And then, we've worked with you ever since. And it's just been absolutely phenomenal. It's one of my most favourite. I can't say can I? Because other people might listen, but it's a really exciting partnership, and it's just a pleasure working with you and Saffron, as I know that that.
And
'Cause I
you
get
know, and absolutely, you know, vice versa, because it is something that's particularly close to obviously Saffron's heart, with
yeah, I know.
Saffron heart,
Yeah,
because
I
obviously
know.
losing her dad at such a young age through head and neck cancer, you know, it was something that we were both really super keen to keep that relationship as, you know, as tight as possible. So, do you know how much the Miss Great Britain brand has raised for you guys now to total?
Yeah, we've just hit 150,000,
Wowzer!
which is
In what time frame?
so that was back, I think it was 2015, and then we've done, I think we're on the fourth one. So we've done one. So that's over three fundraising years, and then just what we've done so far this year. So it's,
Right, so
yeah,
does
it's
that include
phenomenal.
this year's total so
Yeah,
far?
yeah.
Brilliant.
It's, I think it's gone over 150,000 now.
Yeah, there's some big numbers
Looking at
in this year.
looking at the page, I mean, not as though I'm refreshing it 20 times a day. I have quite a few fundraising pages on my phone, and yeah,
Yeah,
my girls say, "Mum, put your phone down."
yeah, I've got to say, and for Alex's Wish, you know, the second
Wow.
local charity that we're supporting. I remember talking to you guys at the masterclass, and I
Yeah,
think you said around 250,000. So quarter
yeah,
of a million's been raised within
yeah,
those. I think we averaged it at 4.5 years, didn't we, over the span over the two? I think it's maybe
yeah.
5 years and then 4 years for you guys. So averaged it at 4.5, and £250,000 is not a small amount of number.
It's an amazing partnership, as Emma said from Alex's Wish, who, yeah, I will say it's just a privilege to work with her. We might speak about imposter syndrome. Well, I get it with Emma. You know, when she's up speaking, I think, oh God, I wish I could do as good a job as Emma.
You do
But
equally as good. Let me
oh,
tell you,
thank
you
you.
know, for someone who speaks fairly regularly, you know, I swear, I don't. I'm not just blowing smoke up your backside. You know, how you
Thank
both
you.
come across is exceptional. It really is. The ability to tell a story and one hold it together, because you know it's a very
Yeah.
sensitive subject to on all levels, whether that's to yourself or to the people that you're affecting in the audience. You know, at the masterclass, there really wasn't a dry eye in the house. So that you know, that ability to be able to do that and hold it together is really impressive.
It's not always easy, Matt.
No,
You know, it really isn't. And you know, we just mentioned Emma. When Emma's speaking about Alex, I just think I couldn't do that if it was one of my girls. I couldn't do what Emma does, and gets up and she tells the story exactly how it, you know, panned out for them as a family. And I think, wow, she's something else. So yeah, we're privileged. It's great for us to work alongside them. We love
yeah,
it.
yeah, and that's great that there's not any kind of compete, or not that there would be animosity, but like
No,
this isn't going over here. You know, everything is split down the middle between both
yeah,
of you, and it's a huge shout out to the GB girls from, you know, previous years as well as the girls from this year. They've really really got behind everything this year as well, and in, you know,
yeah.
I don't really talk to the whole political cost of living and all this kind of stuff, but you know, you don't have to look too far to see that it isn't, I suppose, the easiest time for a lot of people. And for this year, for what they've raised so far, and we're not even at the final, I know it's maybe 3 weeks away at time of recording, that they really are pulling out all the stops and doing their best to make sure you do walk away with some decent.
Honestly, Matt. I mean, I looked at after the masterclass, Emma and I were talking, and it's looking to me like the girls this year alone, they'll easily hit 50,000 between Cancer Research UK and Alex's Wish, which, yeah, do you know what, changes lives?
Yeah, I think when it's all said and done, it'll probably be a bit over that. I've just got a hunch. And you know, the fact that we know that it's going through you to go and make a difference, I think is, and it talks back to the relationship point, is that when you have got such a close working relationship, it puts trust in the brand, because even though Cancer Research UK isn't, you know, yours, it is at the same time. It's we associate that with it being you. So I think the girls, when they meet you and they meet you at the masterclass, it then makes them want to pull even harder for you
Oh,
and for Emma as well.
yeah, yeah,
So you get the
definitely.
best out of them for sure.
Yeah, there was so many. girls came and spoke to me afterwards. Some had their own personal stories. Some, they'd lost people. There was a real passion. There was a lot of emotion, like you mentioned, Matt. A lot of emotion, and yeah, I mean, one thing, we've got about 6 or 7 brand new Cancer Research UK ambassadors from the girls from this year. They're doing phenomenal stuff.
What does an ambassador? What constitutes an ambassador for Cancer Research UK?
So basically, because they're becoming an ambassador in their own area, in their own communities, but they might have a passion for something. So we've got one of the Miss GB finalists. Am I allowed to say a name?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, Taslima. Taslima is just amazing. Just Taslima off the top of my head. So she's really passionate about lung cancer. She lost a family member very, very young, early 30s. And I know she spoke openly about it. So she's been working with our campaigns team on the smoke-free campaign. So she went along with our campaigns manager and some other supporters, ambassadors, and they took the petition to 10 Downing Street a couple of weeks ago. So Taslima was there with the team, with our team, representing Cancer Research UK, making change, lobbying for change, and also flying the Miss Great Britain organisation flag as well.
Wonderful.
It's not just the funds they raise, it's everything else that, just builds and builds. It's massive.
And I really don't think, and certainly before I got involved in this crazy world of pageantry,
Your life's never been the same, has it, Matt?
Oh, it hasn't. My feet kill from heels. What was I going to say? I think it's completely overlooked. I think the amount of work that the girls, and this is the wider pageantry community as well, it's not just GB, do for society, for charity, for women's empowerment, and as I say regularly on the podcast, because I think it's important for people to get this through their heads, the strapline for Miss Great Britain, I don't even like calling it a strapline because it's a culture. The culture of Miss Great Britain is celebrating the diversity and women's excellence. That is what myself and staff decided that's the culture of Miss Great Britain, and it doesn't get spoken about enough. So me and staff, there's projects that we've got going on in the background to really try and help elevate that and just show the wider community like what it means to actually be involved in pageants, and where it then, if you stay involved in the pageantry world, as it were, where it takes you in terms of career, self-development, education, and so on. It's a really important part.
It's absolutely huge, honestly. I know with Rebecca, she was a confident dancer, but she wasn't confident when she went to her live heat as an 18-year-old frightened girl, and to go on stage, with 50, 60 other amazing girls. She wasn't confident at all, and actually looking back now, she'll say, Mom, I can't, I actually did that. And it's the development and the opportunities and just that confidence that it gives you. I mean, I've never done it personally, but I can see with the other girls that we work with how they just obviously Saffron's a perfect example of it, because we all know a story, and it's just mind-blowing what the pageantry world does for you if you do it right, and you stay true to yourself, and you get involved with what matters, because that's where you'll get your growth from, I imagine. I know I do. I get growth from doing good things and doing the best job I can. We make mistakes, everybody does, but it gives you that platform to go forward with your life.
Absolutely. And if you come into it with your eyes set on being able to contribute and give back, but more importantly, give back to yourself, like you see the girls that have come back through GB over, the last maybe 3 years or so, or certainly since I've been involved, since it was probably around 2017, because when Saf handed a crown back, we were together at this point. So that was really my first exposure to it. And there's still some girls that still competing in GB that were in and around when she was competing as well. And you just see the development that's come from them. And I don't think it's, people don't realize actually it is a self-development, almost career course inside of a hobby. You know,
100%. Yeah,
and
it
I
is
think,
absolutely.
and when people approach it like that and see it for what it is, I wouldn't be surprised if over the next sort of 3 to 5 years we didn't see really an explosion in people attending these kind of events.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we've got a lot of work to do still in every, anything good takes work, and we've got to keep raising the platform,
Mhm.
and that in turn raises the platform and the awareness of Alex's Wish and Cancer Research UK, and people think, wow, there's so much more to just going on stage, what people's preconceived ideas of pageants are, because these women are outstanding. They are absolutely outstanding, and so
And
yeah,
real role models, they really are.
absolutely, 100%.
So with taking sort of kind of a different turn, where charities are concerned, do you ever get hit with negativity or sort of any kind of backlash or any of that kind of stuff? Does that happen? Do you see that within a like a charity format?
Oh yeah, yeah, we do. And often it's like, well, you get paid, or you pay your CEO X amount of money, that kind of stuff that every big successful charity gets. Actually, how I look at it, and obviously I know our figures, and please don't get me to start quoting, because I can if you want me to, but I've got to dig deep in my head. But we're really
No,
transparent with
let's quote.
so we're really transparent within Cancer Research UK of how much we pay people, and how much money of every pound donation, we know how much of that pound is going to research. So we can say for sure, absolute double sure, that at least 80 pence in every pound goes to research. So unfortunately, we do have to pay scientists. We've got an amazing CEO who is an MBE, I believe, an amazing lady. And we kind of want to pay her fairly decent, because she'll just leave because she's really talented. And actually, if you've got 400 million coming in and you're spending it on science and life-saving research, you kind of need somebody who's worth a few pounds to pay every
Absolutely.
month. I certainly wouldn't want to go to bed with that on my shoulders. So occasionally we get that. It doesn't bother me. I think ask away. We've absolutely nothing to hide.
And nor should it, this
Absolutely not.
it kind of gets my goat a little bit because, and I think sometimes I guess the charity sector has been tarnished where scams and things have come in and what have you. But the thing is that the scams everywhere in life,
Yeah,
and it
yeah.
just becomes an unfortunate thing. But a charity, the way I see, and this is just a personal opinion, the way I see charities, it is a business and a business has to pay its costs and its expenses and what have you, and it needs staff and it needs someone at the head of it in order to generate it for the greater good. So these people have to have their livelihood taken care of and for at a decent level, because nobody really understands what it takes to actually run a business. And I think obviously with Saffron working so hard, working for as the head of Miss Great Britain, I think people often think that everything is done for free, and
Yeah,
therefore it just materializes, and it doesn't. It's the same as a charity. Things cost a lot of money,
yeah,
and in order to put on the scale of the charity outreach events and the marketing, because that's what it is, marketing for Cancer Research UK, is it takes a lot of manpower and it takes a lot of people having to get paid to make that happen. But the flip side is that you make the tune of what's Cancer Research raised to date? Would you know off the top of your head?
Oh, to date, I mean, with the first part of Cancer Research UK, if you like, obviously it's kind of we've amalgamated. We had two charities back a number of years ago, that became Cancer Research UK. I think it was just before I joined, maybe 2008. You see, I've got a lot going on in my head at the minute trying to remember things. But so the first ever cancer research was 100 years ago. So we've evolved a long way. So
Sure.
I don't know that figure, Matt. I can probably find out for you.
I
But
won't be surprised if it's not to the tune of probably within the billions by now, raised for.
100%, yeah, I mean, Race for Life has almost hit 1 billion.
Wow. So you put that into
Yeah.
context of, let's say, you're going to run, you as in Andrea is going to run Cancer Research UK, and you've raised over, let's just say, let's really narrow it down to, you've raised only £1 billion. Only £1 billion. I mean, a lot of lives have changed with £1 billion.
Yeah, yeah,
For that £1 billion, we're going to pay you 200,000 a year to make sure you're raising the next £1 billion. Now, people are going to pay that over and over and over again because it's such a tiny
exactly.
percentage of such a huge number. But
Exactly.
to look at it and go, well, that CEO is being paid 200 grand or whatever is it being paid. Doesn't matter whether they're being paid £1 million if they're generating X amount of billion for charity. So, and I think it's important because this podcast is about the charities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm more than happy to say that for you because I
Thank
have a
you.
business, and
Yeah.
it doesn't happen just by tickles and twigglets. You have to. If
You're
it
so
could,
right.
it'd be great, but unfortunately,
It
the
doesn't.
world turns because we have to. Yeah, you have to pay for it.
Yeah, we have 4,000 scientists, doctors, and nurses that need paying, and
Yeah,
none of
and they
them
ain't going to work for
want
a
to do
quid
it for
each.
free.
No, no, and that's
So,
the thing. It's you can't have the yin without the yang. So I'm just hugely grateful for us as a brand, and I speak for obviously Saffron as well, to be associated with you guys because we know that you are the ones that are doing it properly and that are transparent and are changing a lot of people's lives and opening a lot of eyes as well to
yeah.
just hopefully at some point in time getting it sorted. It would be lovely if at some point you don't need to exist anymore.
Wouldn't it? That's our goal. That's
I mean,
the aim.
we'll employ you if that's what happens.
Thank you. I'd love to work for you,
You've got
honestly.
you've got a place in Miss GB. No, that's no
Yeah.
problem. Absolutely no problem.
No, and absolutely, and that takes, just on some stats because they are important. So, when I was growing up, even like early 70s, probably 20 I'm just trying to think, 25% of people would survive cancer. 40 years on, 50% of people survive a cancer diagnosis for at least 10 years or more.
Mhm.
And what our aim is to get it to 75%. So 3 in 4 people, we are saying, will survive a cancer diagnosis by 2034. So in the next sort of 10 years.
Wow.
And that's basically, so what we're trying to do is, it took us 40 years to go from 25% to 50%. But what we're doing is we're going from 50 to 75% in half that time.
Mm.
And we know now, because we've just changed, speaking of strap lines, we've just changed ours. I think I mentioned it at the masterclass. We've changed ours from "Together we will beat cancer" to "Together we are beating cancer," which is really exciting for us as staff because you go through everything day by day by day. Some things go really well, some things don't go as well. We all have frustrations, and I've been fortunate enough to listen to scientists over the years that have been with Cancer Research UK, and they are the most frustrated bunch of people. But what we do know is now in 2023 is that the research has saved over 1 million lives since the 1980s alone. And cancer death rates are down by 16% just in the last sort of 20 years. So that 16% is a lot of people. That's
Yeah.
someone's mum, sister, child. Don't get me started about childhood cancers and our progress. Honestly, I could chat all day about it. It's so exciting. It's exciting to be a part of that.
And what's probably the most exciting bit? What bit have you seen recently that's been a breakthrough that really makes you think, oh my God, actually, maybe in the next 10 years, this could be done?
Yeah, so I think I also mentioned at the masterclass the HPV virus. So that both my girls are in their early 20s, have had the HPV virus vaccine at school. What's not something that I had, it wasn't there, but we've developed that, and it's now most teenagers have it, unless they don't have it by choice through whatever reason.
And for people that don't know what that is, what is that either prevent?
Yes, so basically the HPV virus can lead to cervical cancer.
Right.
So what's happened is now that age group of people, cervical cancer rates are down by 95%.
Wow.
So it's almost kind of eradicated cervical cancer, and it will do, as you know, as we go forward. That's happened since I've worked for Cancer Research UK. On a personal story, you know, we just talked about children. My friend who I worked with, you know, back in the day, her 13-year-old son got diagnosed with leukemia, type of leukemia, and it was horrendous. I won't go into details, because it's very emotional. But we went on a 2 or 3 year journey where he couldn't go to school. I think it was a couple of years, couldn't go to school. So we missed kind of most of sort of 13, 14, 15 of school. Went through loads of different treatments. It came back, nothing was working. They had the dreaded conversation of, right, this is the last thing we can do. This is the last thing we can offer. And he's cured.
Wow.
He's cured. He's just done his GCSEs, passed them all, had his prom, gone to college, started his A-levels like in September last month. And I remember seeing that little boy thinking, I remember saying to my husband, I can't do what I do and see them lose him, their only child. And back 30, 40 years ago, it wouldn't have been the case. We would have lost him. So children with leukemia, probably 20% survived back in the day. Today, it's about 70, 80%.
That's incredible.
So seeing that firsthand, how, that I've seen that young guy grow up, the young lad grow up, is a lovely, really bright boy. But he was just was going to school. Suddenly he was struggling with PE lessons. He was tired. He's anemic and and his mum and his dad were, something's wrong. And she literally carried him into the hospital, and he got diagnosed within a couple of hours. Right. And I remember taking the call from her, and I look at him now and think, thank God for research. Thank God for every volunteer, for every supporter, for every pound that, we've all raised over the years. Not me. I mean, I obviously do donations to CRUK, UK, but just being part of that is, it's you don't often get that in the job.
No,
Very
absolutely
lucky.
not.
Yeah.
So talking to the symptoms, I think it's quite important for us to discuss what are you looking for within yourself if you have that question, because no one wants to sit there and think, oh my God, I don't feel right. Could it be? You never want to have that conversation with yourself. So
No.
what are you actually looking for? Or are the symptoms so broad that, you start feeling off and you get checked anyway? What is it that people are looking for?
I mean, obviously there's over 200 different types of cancer. So that's why it's not so easy just to, why have you not cured cancer? Because
Is there a generic like to look for sheet? I know obviously lumps and
so basically just so anyone who listens, every tumor is different, every chemotherapy is different, everybody's cancer is different. So it's not just, well, why have we not found a cure for cancer? It's vast, absolutely vast. What I would say is, obviously, certain things, losing weight, if you're bleeding from somewhere that isn't there, it's not right. Obviously, any lumps. But you know what? The main thing I would say is, we all know our own bodies, and I know mine, you know yours, we all do. If something changes that's longer than, whether it's when you go to the loo or something, so that it lasts, say, 2 weeks or any longer, you need to get it checked. And that's the message I share with most people I speak to, is we know our own bodies. If something doesn't feel right, go, be persistent, go back, go back, go back. And the good news is 9 times out of 10, and I've gone to the doctors and said, oh my, I'm writing letters to my kids. Think, this is me. Why would I get away with it? I'm bound to have it. And I've gone, 3 or 4 times, getting older as a woman, and thought, oh, I'm not sure that's quite right. And I've been referred a couple of times. And the main message is 9 times out of 10, even if you get referred, it's not cancer. So people need to remember that it's probably not, more likely not to be than it is, but just be persistent and know your own body. Check, go to screening appointments. Screening is obviously vital, but some people still not going to screening appointments. No. And that's where the girls have really helped. And I know I'm going to be working tomorrow on some breast cancer bits and pieces for the girls, the Miss Great Britain girls, because they share it on their platform. So they'll say, guys, ladies, doesn't it just affect ladies? It's Breast Cancer Awareness Month, October. This is the symptoms. These are the symptoms you need to look out for. Probably not.
I know that a lot of the girls, or the girls that are particularly, involved in CRUK, I won't name them obviously as national director, but I know some are very specific on cervical, and then there's others that are really going down the route of breast cancer and so on and so forth. So it's interesting that, and you obviously explained about the girl with the lung cancer. It's interesting that they've picked and almost niched down the 200 types to the things that actually mean the most to them, that they want to have the most voice on as well. That must be quite good for you to see. So you can take individual voices. Yeah.
It's mind-blowing because they're so passionate about, and I know one of the finalists, she's been through it. She's in her 30s. She's been through cancer twice, I believe. She's just an amazing lady, and she has got such a story to tell, and she's becoming an ambassador. And you can sit, and we talked about this, didn't we? We've spoke about it, Mike. That's storytelling. Emma spoke about it from Alex's Wish. I did, Saffron tells her story. You've got to, it's sharing your stories and what's happened that motivates people, and it gets messages across. Because if it doesn't matter to you, then you think, well, that's all well and good, but I've not got cancer in my family, or, so when the girls take something that's important to them, that's when, we move mountains, because they're so passionate.
Yeah, without a doubt. All of them are, fantastic.
They are.
Is there anything that we've not covered that you'd like to? Is there anything that that I've not asked you that you would like to speak about, either career-wise or CRU, or your own experience-wise?
Yeah, I think the only other thing that I'd probably mention is, because I'm now 54, obviously, and I've been in the charity sector getting on for 30 years. And we often talk about imposter syndrome and doubting ourselves. And I remember speaking to Dion about it at the masterclass, and, an ex-Miss Great Britain. And we were saying, everybody kind of has that. And I certainly do. And I think if I could speak to myself in my 20s now, I would say, be yourself, try not to compare, and just do what feels right, and things usually work out. Because I think, especially nowadays, we can all be kind of worried about what other people think, and do we look okay? Do we look, is people thinking things about us? And I would say, be yourself, be true to yourself, and do what's right for you, and try and feel good enough. Surround yourself by positive people. I think with my role and my whole time in the charity sector, even at my previous charity, I've worked with the most amazing, talented people who are so committed. And if they're not, they tend to not hang around the charity sector very long. So, and I think they've enriched my journey without a doubt and kind of made me able to do the job that I do today. So it's kind of like, I don't know, trust your instincts, go with the flow. And yeah,
Well,
and I see it with my girls as well, you know, they're they're so different, but I've really always said to them, you know, be yourselves, do what's right for you. And they're both completely different, but they're very similar, and we really laugh our heads off, even if things aren't going great. We really laugh. We try and laugh every day, to the point that we're falling off the sofa laughing, honestly, sometimes. And yeah, because life's tough sometimes, isn't it? So
yeah, absolutely. And working in the role that you do, you have massive highs and, you know, crushing lows, you know, and everything in between. So, you know, I mean,
we really do, yeah.
let's talk to the imposter thing, the imposter elephant in the room. I'm a guy doing a pageantry podcast as one
Do a
of
good job
two
though, Matt.
national.
You're pretty good.
I really would not agree, but I suppose that's on me. But it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, you know, who you are, what you do, background. I think anybody who is striving to better themselves in any area, or to whether you consider yourself a high performer or not, I do, as in consider you, Andrea, a high performer, is
Thank
that
you.
all high performers will, you know, there's no one more critical of themselves than themselves, you know. And I learned something actually this weekend. I was on a seminar weekend this weekend, and one of the lines was, learn to negotiate with yourself really well. And it really just stuck out for me about, you know, when you are having the imposter syndrome, or when you're trying to build new disciplines, new habits, or, you know, just wanting to, you know, sit down and write a chapter of a book that you've always wanted to write, what have you. It's about negotiating with yourself and winning more than you back down with yourself.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
it's absolutely right. Yeah. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I wake up and think, I don't know whether I can do this today. You know, I've
a
got
lot of days.
elderly parents, and, you know, and my girls are, you know, obviously I worry about them, even though they're absolutely fine and they're really successful, both of them. But I think, oh, wow, here we go. Can I do the job that I do as well as I do it? I went to an event yesterday. Alarm went off at 5:15, and I was thinking, I'm going to support this event. It's not one of in my area. It's for another member of the team. And thinking, I don't know whether I can do this. I've never met these people over, you know, on a Teams call. Yeah, and I sat in my car and I was pretty nervous. And then, you know, you get out there, you meet people. They're all taking part in this amazing event for Cancer Research UK. And by the time you drive home, you think, actually, that was fine.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, 30 years on, I'm still sitting in my car thinking, whoa, right, deep breaths.
I
So,
think, you know, the more you care, the more you despair. I think that
yeah, you're
you,
so
you,
right.
you can have that. That just came into my head. You can have
I'm
it.
going to make a
Sure.
note of that
Yeah,
one.
you can use that. I'll let you. £5
Yeah.
a month. You can. Andrew, it's been absolutely wicked talking to you, as I knew it would be. So you had nothing to be nervous about, because I think, you know, you got over all of the points like so eloquently, and you're so knowledgeable about the subject. It's been a huge pleasure to sit and have a chat with you for just under an hour.
Can I just finish by saying, Matt, thank you to you and Saffron, seriously, from the bottom of my heart, and everyone at Cancer Research UK. We are so proud of this partnership and everything you, Saffron, and the girls do for us. Yeah, hugely, hugely appreciated. I hope you know that.
And straight, you know, right back at you, because, you know, you do a lot for us as well, that a lot of people don't know about. You know, the fact that you just the stuff that you sort out for us and for the girls and for the winners and what have you is, you know, above and beyond, and we don't take that for granted. We really don't. It's and that's obviously on behalf of Saffron and the GB brand as well. But it's been wicked.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's been absolutely fantastic speaking to you. Guys, if you're listening, please go over and check out the CRUK.org. Am I right? .org?
Yeah,
CRUK.org?
cancerresearchuk.org.uk. That's our website. And if you've got any concerns, it's packed full of information. And there's a nurse helpline there that will take any calls, even if it's not for you, if it's for a family member, a friend. They take calls between 9 and 5, Monday to Friday. So they're
Wonderful.
phenomenal.
And if you come into the
Okay,
final, we'll see you there
I'll
as
do it on final.
on final night, which will be absolutely fantastic. So, guys, please go over and have a look at what they're doing with the Cancer Research UK website. And Andrea, it's been an absolute pleasure. Guys, this has been season 1, episode 5 with Andrea Day from Cancer Research UK. What was the new strapline? We'll finish on that.
Together we are beating cancer.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. Please like, subscribe, and share. And we'll see you on the next time around. Thank you very much.